الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islami wa sunnah. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. Alhamdulillah, we continue going over some important lessons in light of the Qur'an and the Sunnah. And this is a sisters class. Alhamdulillah, in the first portion of this class, we covered the meaning of the Shahadatain and that which is connected to it, from its pillars, from their their conditions, yani their shurut, so on and so forth. Naam, their prerequisites, naam, and the like. We have concluded with that portion of it, so now we move on to something which is of tremendous importance to every Muslim, naam, but in particularly to the sisters, as they are the teachers of the next generation. And it is incumbent that they themselves are adorned with the likes of these outstanding characteristics so that they may convey them to the next generation and they may teach them to the children. Because as the saying it goes, al-faqidu shay la yu'tihi, that the one who is deprived of something, then they will be incapable of giving it. So bithnillahi ta'ala, this next section, this next portion, we will be going over a tremendous book that was written by the Fadil Sheikh Salih Al-Usaymi, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, which is entitled Al-Adab Al-Ashara, the 10 aspects of good character, or 10 good characteristics yani, that have to be implemented. So inshallah ta'ala, here we want to look at 10 traits, 10 aspects that every Muslim should adorn themselves with, from the good traits and behavior, from the good characteristics. The Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he begins the book by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And it also should be noted that the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he has an explanation over this small book in which he has written, which we will be utilizing Bithnillahi Ta'ala to extract and gain some benefit from this tremendous small piece of work. The Shaykh, he begins by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اعلم هداني الله وإياك لأحسن الأخلاق. He said, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, the all-merciful, the most merciful, the bestower of mercy. No, may Allah guide me and guide you to the best of character. May Allah guide me and guide you to the best of character. نعم. أن من أعظم الآداب عشرة. And from the greatest of the characteristics, from the greatest of good moral character, then there are 10 characteristics, there are 10 traits. نعم. And the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, ابتدأ المصنف وفقه الله رسالته ببسملة مقتصرا عليها. He said that the author, he began the book by just mentioning the Basmala. And he only mentioned the Basmala. He didn't mention anything else. He just said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اتباعا للوالد في السنة النبوة. Because of that which, yani in imitating, we should say, in imitating that which has come inside of the prophetic Sunnah. في مكاتباته ورسائله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى الملوك. Because of that which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote, his correspondences and his writings and his letters that he sent out to the kings, he would suffice in it by just saying the Basmala. By just saying the Basmala. So therefore, you find that the author here, he imitated the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that affair. So he just said the Basmala. He just mentioned the Basmala. ثم ذكر أن من الأعظم الآداب عشرة. And then he mentioned that from the greatest acts of good moral character and good conduct, then there are 10 things, meaning that he wants to mention 10 of the most outstanding pieces of moral character and of conduct and of good behavior, so on and so forth. Naam, wal adab kathira, because good moral character, then you will find that it is many. There are many aspects, there are many traits that are linked to moral character. Naam, kathiratul adad, yani a lot of number. Mutafarriqa al-abawab, in various different affairs, various different topics. Naam, والمعدود منها في هذه الرسالة عشرة, but we only want to extract here in this small treatise 10 aspects. خصت بالعدد لاتصافها بالأعظمية, and we have limited it to these 10 and just mentioning these 10 due to the fact that they are from the greatest of the aspects, the greatest of the moral code and conduct affairs of which we should be sticking to and holding on to and implementing بإذن الله تعالى. وهي بلوغها غاية لأهمية, and us adorning ourselves with the likes of these characteristics, then it is from the utmost of importance that these characteristics that are mentioned, then these are from the utmost of the characteristics that we should be implementing due to their extreme importance. نعم. ووصفت الآداب العشرة المذكورة فيها بأنها من أعظم الآداب لأمرين, and it has been mentioned or has been described, these 10 aspects of good moral character, they have been described as being from the greatest of the aspects of moral character, or from the most important aspects of moral character, for the two following reasons. One of them, اعتناء بها شرعا, is because in the Sharia much attention is placed upon these 10. Naam, in the Sharia there are much attention based upon these 10 aspects of good moral character. Naam, فدلائل الشرع متكاثرة ببيان الأحكام المتعلقة بتلك الآداب العشرة, because you'll find many texts inside of the Sharia that come to explain these 10 aspects of moral character, or that are linked to the discussion around these 10 aspects of moral character. So you'll find much proofs and evidences that are linked to each one of these ones, in which he is going to mention much attention placed on it inside of the Sharia. Naam. And also, the secondly, كثرة الوقوعها واستعمالها عرفا, and secondly, because of the great multitudes of these good aspects of moral character also being found throughout the various cultures. Now, so not only are these good aspects of moral character that we are taught in the book and the Sunnah, but you'll find that also in different various local cultures, these are also very important aspects. These are also very important aspects. نعم. فإن من جاري بين الناس اتباع هذه الآداب لكثرة الرواج ما يتعلق بها من الأحوال في يوم أحدهم وليلته. And you'll find that these 10, there are things that are oft repeated, or these 10 aspects of good moral character are things that an individual they would utilize throughout the course of their day. There will come about an individual many opportunities throughout the course of their day to implement these good aspects of moral character and to adorn themselves with these aspects of moral character. There will be many opportunities throughout an individual's day and throughout an individual's night, to implement the likes of these. So these are things that are from those aspects that are oft repeated inside of a day and a night that an individual they will have to adorn themselves with. Now, al-adab, jama' adab. Now, adab, which is translated as good moral character. Now, it is the plural of the word adab. It is the plural of the word adab. So the singular is adab, and the plural is al-adab. Now, so the singular is adab, and the plural is adab. Now, like, and what is adab? What will we say is moral character or good behavior or aspects of good character? Naam, as is oft translated. هو ما حمل شرعا أو عرفا, then it is that which is praised either being in the legislation or either being inside of the culture. So these are cultural aspects that one will be praised for doing, or these are aspects that one will be praised for doing inside of the sharia, inside of the divine legislation. Naam. So these are aspects that are good, things and characteristics that are good. So how do we define what is a good character? How do we define what is good behavior? Then that will be by that which comes inside of the sharia, that which comes inside of the sharia, and also that will be in accordance to that which comes inside of culture, that which comes inside of culture. However, as long as that does not contradict the sharia. So for example, if there are aspects that are good moral character culturally, but they are bad character, they are categorized as bad character inside of the sharia, then these things are to be abandoned. Why? Because the sharia takes precedence over the culture. The deen takes precedence over the culture. Okay? But if there are aspects of moral character that do not oppose the deen, they do not oppose the religion, so they are culturally good aspects of character that do not oppose the religion, then these are fine and this is okay. This is fine and this is okay. In fact, an individual, they ought to adorn themselves with the likes of this. The Shaykh, he mentions فالمحمودات الشرعية والعرفية تسمى آدابا. So those things which are, those characteristics that are praiseworthy legislatively and culturally, then they are called adab. They are called good character, good moral character. وحقيقتها خصال خير. And the reality is that these are good traits. These are good traits, good attributes. These are good moral conduct, and so on and so forth. And it is important for the believer that we concern ourselves with this and that we adorn ourselves with the likes of good behavior, good moral character. It is incumbent that we teach our children the likes of this good behavior, good moral character. ويسمى المتحلي بها, the one who is adorned, the one who has this good character, then they are called mu'addaban. They are called one who is mu'addab, meaning one who has good character. One who has good character. In Arabic, how you will say this, an individual who has good character, an individual who is well behaved, an individual who is good mannered, then you will say they are mu'addab. So mu'addab means one who is well behaved, one who has good character, one who has manners. A person that has manners, you will say that person is mu'addab. If you had to articulate it in the Arabic language, then you will say this person is mu'addab. Meaning they have good manners. They have good manners. ويوصف بأنه ذو أدب, and he'll be described as one who has good manners. One who is a possessor of good character. And the like. The Shaykh goes on and he goes on to mention ووجه نعته بذلك اجتماع خصال الخير فيه. And the standpoint that he will be categorized as such is because as an individual who has brought together good characteristics inside of them. They have brought together good characteristics inside of them, so therefore they'll be categorized as being one who has good behavior, one who is upon good character. They have good character. وذكر ابن القيم رحمه الله تعالى وذكره ابن القيم, and Imam Ibn Qayyim, he mentions inside of مدارج السالكين والأصل الوثيق الذي تبنى عليه الآداب أمران, and the origin, the foundation, that strong foundation by way in which good character is built upon, meaning the spring in which we know what is good character and where it emanates from and where it springs out from, then there are two. What are our sources? There are two sources by way in which we determine what is good character. We already alluded to them, but we will go over them again and mention them again. Bithnillahi ta'ala. أحدهما, the first of them, أحكام شرعية, and it is the rules and the regulations of the deen, that we know what is good moral character because the deen has defined it as such. The deen has defined it as being Good character. Now, so this is how we will know what is good character, because it is defined as such inside of the Sharia. It is defined as such inside of the Deen. It is defined as such inside of the legislation. Now, that makes sense? That makes sense? Like, so now what is the other source by way in which we know what is good character? How else can we determine what is good character? Then that will be al-akhir, al-a'rafu, al-mar'iyya. Then that will be by the good cultural habits that are implemented and followed. Now, those good cultural habits that you find the people they are upon and the people that they follow them. And again, what is the rule here is that as long as it does not go against the Sharia, then it is accepted. If it goes against the Sharia, then it's rejected. Why? Because the Deen takes precedence over culture. Now, so if, for example, it is from a person's culture for the women not to cover. Now, as we have some cultures, some indigenous cultures out there, some primitive cultures. Now, you will find that the women and even the men, they don't cover. So they would literally be naked. They'll be literally be naked, and that is from their cultural way. So if a person accepts Islam from this place, they can't say, well, culturally, our women don't cover their chest. They walk around with their breasts exposed, and it's okay. Culturally, our men don't cover their genitals except with a small piece of whatever, and this is what is culturally acceptable. So now, in that instance, and in that case, will that act be something that is culturally, or will that act be something that is acceptable in the Deen, even though it's culturally acceptable? The answer will be no. It will not be acceptable in the Deen because it goes against the Deen. It goes against the rules and regulations of the Sharia, so that will be rejected. So culturally, we know what is good culturally, and it is acceptable only if it does not contradict the Deen, only if it does not contradict the rules and the regulations of Islam. But so when it comes to good behavior, the Shaykh mentions فَتَارَةً يُسْتَمَدُّ الْأَدَبُ مِنْ دَلِيلِ الشَّرْعِ. Sometimes we will take the good character and it will emanate from a legislative text, a legislative proof and evidence. So sometimes it will come from a legislative proof and evidence. وَتَارَةً يُسْتَمَدُّ الْأَدَبُ مِنْ دَاعِيِ الْعُرْفِ. And then sometimes it will be extracted from cultural habits that do not contradict the Sharia. فَنَزْعُ من هذين والنزع من هذين الموردين هو أصفى الموارد في التعيين الآداب. And the extracting, or these two sources, then these are the most pure, the most wholesome of sources by way in which will identify what is good moral character, what is good behavior, what are good manners. Now, from these two sources, from the Sharia and from the good wholesome cultural practices that do not contradict the Sharia, is by way in which we will be able to identify what is good moral character and categorize what are good manners. Now, وَبَيَانُ مَا يَتَعَلَّقْ بِهَا, and the explanation of that which is connected unto the both of them. وَهُمَا سَابِقَانِ لِمَا أَكَبُّ عَلَيْهِ النَّاسِ. And these things is from that in which the people that they turn to, and that they are in need of and that they accept. بِأَخْرَةٍ مِنْ مَا استحسنوا من تأليف أهل الشرق أو غرب أهل الشرق أو غرب من غير المسلمين. And this is where the people we have to take from those two pure sources, those two pure good wholesome sources, and not that which others have turned to from the writings, be it from the people of the Eastern traditions, or be it from the people of the Western traditions who are not Muslim. Those traditions in which they have called them سموا protocol. They have named them protocols, or etiquette, or they have named them etiquette and the like of what they have determined what is good protocol, what is good etiquette, what are good manners, so on and so forth. We do not define what are good manners or what are proper protocols based upon non-Muslims. Not at all. Because again, their frame of reference is different and it differs from ours. Their standards differ from ours. Their standards in cases are in contradiction to the book and to the Sunnah. Their standards are in contradiction to Islam. So we don't utilize their standards as a frame of reference, nor do we adorn ourselves in accordance to their cultural norms and mores and the like, but rather those individuals coming from those cultures, they will govern those cultural mores, they will govern those manners of said cultures according to the deen of al-Islam. So that which they find does not contradict the deen of al-Islam, then this is what they will hold on to and this is what they would implement in practice. But that which goes against Islam, then this is what will be disregarded. But in any event, what is the governing factor, or what is that which defines what is good and what is not, then it will be the Sharia, it will be the book, it will be the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it would be that which the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, that which they were upon. Naam, that which they were upon, and not that which we find in Western writings or in the writings from the Far East, and so on and so forth. Naam. The reason why these things are important is for two reasons, and especially for those who are students of knowledge, especially for those who are wanting to study and to be religious and to connect themselves to the inheritance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the reason why they are of extreme importance is twofold. The first one is that the source by way in which we know what is good character, then as aforementioned, then it is the upright and correct legislation, and it is the upright and wholesome cultural habits. And with that, this would free us from having to look to other than it. So if we were to stick to that which we find inside of the text, if we were to stick to that which we find in the wholesome cultural habits and character and manners and the like, then this will free us from having to need to look to anything else. So this is why it's important for the student to adorn themselves with that which they find here, because then you don't need to look elsewhere. Now you are free, you don't need to look elsewhere. Also, it is so that we could implement that good wholesome character that we find inside of those two sources, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one who we are striving to imitate, the one who we are striving to be like, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had the most outstanding, and he kana akmal an-nas adaban, he was the best of the people in manners. He had the best manners. So the one who is studying and benefiting from that which he has left as an inheritance, then it is only right and only serves them right that they themselves are adorned with the best manners, that they themselves, they have the best character, so on and so forth. And for the Muslims, it is of extreme importance, because people, they look to what you do and are more affected by the way you behave than they are by what you say. So they're always looking to see, does this person's actions coincide with their statements? Or is this individual living by that which they are preaching, that which they are calling to, that which they are saying, and so on and so forth? And undoubtedly, the benefit and the respect and the credence is given to those who they implement and they live by that which they're saying. Whereas if they find in it contradiction, then they would totally disregard anything that an individual have to say. They would pay it no mind, no attention, give to it no credence, no consideration. Why? Because in their minds, this person is not due nor worthy of any type of respect, because they're saying these good words, but look at their bad behavior. They're saying all this good stuff, but look at all of this bad that we see from them. Look at all of this treachery that we see from them, dishonesty that we see from them, so on and so forth. So now when this treacherous person talks about virtue and acting virtuously, They don't want to hear anything from him. What do you mean virtuous? You're the most treacherous of the individuals. I don't want to hear what you have to say. If this person who is from the most dishonest of the people now wants to speak about honesty and about being honest, they don't want to hear anything you have to say. Who are you to talk about honesty when you are the most dishonest individual? Now, so it is incumbent that we adorn ourselves with the likes of this, and that we do not become a fitna for the kuffar. We do not put ourselves in situations where we become bad representatives of the deen of al-Islam, may put a bad taste in a person's mouth for the deen of al-Islam due to our bad behavior. Now, so excuse me, these are things that we need to keep in mind, bithnillahi ta'ala. And these are reasons why it is incumbent that we adorn ourselves with this behavior. Also, I would like to add as well, we have to adorn ourselves with this behavior because as mentioned, al-faqidu shay la yu'tihi, the one who is deprived of something can't give it. Now, and if we really want to have an impact first and foremost upon our children, then we have to put forth a good example to them. We have to put forth a good example to them. And if we put forth a good example to our children, because we are upon good behavior, and thus we teach our children to have good manners and good behavior, now and proper etiquette and so on and so forth, then who is the first one to benefit from that? Is the parents. The parents are the first one to benefit when they have good children. Now, so if we want to benefit from good children, we want our children to be good, now, and we want to benefit from having good children who are well-mannered and well-behaved, then it is incumbent and it behooves us to be an example for them in this good manners and good behavior. Now, so it's a win-win. It's a win-win situation. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he goes on to mention the first characteristic from the very important characteristics, and that is, as the Shaykh mentions, الأول إذا لقيت مسلما فسلم عليه. If you meet a Muslim, give him salams. If you meet a Muslim, then you say unto them, Assalamu alaikum. Naam, he says, قائلا Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Then you say to them, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm not going to translate that. I think everyone knows for the most part what that means. Naam. طيب. وإن سلم عليك فقل وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. And if they give you salams, then you return the salams by saying وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. نعم. طيب. The Shaykh, he mentions that he began with this because this is extremely important. This act of ibadah, this act of worship by giving salams is of extreme importance. Naam. And inside of that, we have three different affairs. We have three different issues that are linked to giving salams. The first one of them is that it can be found in his statement, إِذَا لَقِيتَ مُسْلِمًا فَسَلِّمْ عَلَيْهِ. If you meet a Muslim, if you meet up with a Muslim, then say to him, Assalamu alaikum. Naam, give him salams. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But وَمِنْ أَدَبِ الْإِسْلام. This is from the adab of Islam, is what? Is بَذْلُ salam, is to give the salams and to strive in giving salams. This is from the adab of Islam. Naam. So much so that Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, as Imam Malik, he brings in Muwatta, that Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to go to the souk. He used to go to the marketplace. Naam. And he will not pass by any vendor. He will not pass by anyone selling a commodity. He will not pass by any patron, except that he will say unto them, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Naam, he would give them salams. He would pass by everyone and give them salams. And then he would leave the market. Then he would leave the market. Naam, so he didn't go, he didn't look at any, thing. He didn't, barter with anyone. He didn't buy anything. He used to go to the market just to give salams to the people and to spread salams. Naam, because he understood the virtue of this tremendous act of worship. And it is important that this is mentioned, and from the greatest of things that could be mentioned of good behavior, because this is something that a lot of people, they undervalue. A lot of people, they don't put in place a lot of importance in it. They don't understand the superiority of it. They don't understand how much reward an individual gets just from spreading the salam. Now, they don't understand that. And unfortunately, excuse me, this is something that a lot of the Muslims, they are very lackadaisical as relates to it, for whatever reason. For whatever reason. They are very lackadaisical as relates to giving salams. So much so, and as could be witnessed now, You will see a Muslim inside of the marketplace, yeah. You'll see a Muslim inside, out and about in the streets and so on and so forth, and you will go to them and clearly give them salams, and they will look at you like you are alien. They won't return the salam and say nothing. Now, what kind of nonsense is this? You know, this shows you that people, they don't understand the importance. They don't understand the virtue of giving salams. They don't understand the rules and the regulation as relates to the salams. These are people who have bad manners. Bad manners. If you meet a Muslim and you don't give him salam, that's bad manners. You meet a Muslim and they give you salam, you don't return the salam, that's bad manners. Now, from good manners is that when you meet a Muslim, you say unto them, Assalamu alaikum. Naam. And this is what we have to train our children. This is what we have to train our children. And I'm going to give you as a parent, naam, as a parent, I want to give you an indication if you know you're doing your job right. I want to give you an indication so that you know if you're doing your job right. If you bring your child to the masjid or to a situation where they meet up with the Muslims, right? And your child says to them, hello, hi, how are you? How are you doing? Or upon leaving, they say goodbye, see you later, and the like. Then this is an indication that you are not doing your job right, and your child has bad manners as relates to giving salams. Your child has bad manners, an ill-mannered child. Now, children forget. Children forget. Here's another sign that you may not be doing your job like the way you should be doing it. And that is, if you have to tell your child, oh so-and-so, oh my son, oh my daughter, say Assalamu alaikum. If you have to spell it out to them and tell them what to say in this situation, then this is an indication that you have not taught them properly good enough. That you have not taught them properly good enough on what to say. Now, this is an indication that you are failing in teaching your child good manners. Now, as it relates to giving salams and the like. Now, a telltale sign that you are doing what is right and teaching your child properly, because again, children forget. They have to be reminded sometimes. If you tell your child, oh my son, oh my daughter, what are you supposed to say? You know what you're supposed to say. What are you supposed to say? If that's all you have to say, then this is a good sign that you are teaching your child correctly. So all you need to do but to remind them what they ought to say in this situation, or to remind them about the situation, because they already know what to say. And then your child would, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, but this is very important, because you don't know how super frustrating it is and super sad to be in the masjid and the children will come up to you and say, hello, how are you? Or when it's time to leave, bye-bye, bye, uncle. And no, what do you mean bye, uncle? Say, Assalamu alaikum, ya am. Assalamu alaikum, ammu. Assalamu alaikum, ammu. Assalamu alaikum, uncle. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? But we have to teach our children this good behavior. So as parents, when you meet them, when you come into the house, say salam. Now, when you come into the house, and this is from the Sunnah, it's from good behavior, good character. When we come into the house, you're supposed to say Bismillah, and then you're supposed to give salams to the occupants of the house. Now, you're supposed to say salams to the occupants of the house. When you see your children, after coming home from work, oh fathers, then greet your children with salams. Assalamu alaikum. And then go on to speak to them, inshallah ta'ala. As-salam qabla kalam, as they say. Salam before speech. Salam before kalam. So, the first issue that we gained from this is that when you meet a Muslim, what does that mean? What does that mean when you meet up, with a Muslim? The Shaykh, he mentions that mahallu, the situation that you will say it, إذا لقيت مسلما, if you met with a Muslim, واللقي هو توافي اثنين متقابلين أو أكثر. This is meeting with someone, being someone who meets someone, meaning that you encounter, that two people encounter each other, or more than two people encounter each other, meaning that a person encounters individual or more, or groups encounter groups, so on and so forth. Now, that you come across each other, you run into each other, you encounter each other. And if one of them were to run into another one, or to encounter someone else, meet up with another Muslim, run into another Muslim, then one of them should say to the other one, Assalamu alaikum, then it is from the legislation that we give the salams. We don't say how you doing. We don't give gestures like all this type of stuff. And no. Or no. We give salams. If they're there and they can hear us, we give them salams. Now, I'm not saying someone's far across the street and you want to wave to get their attention. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying how people, they be standing right in front of each other and they'll, whatever they, we know who they got that from. That's not, that's not how we greet each other. That's not how we greet each other. In any event. Now, meeting up with somebody is going to be two different types. Now, because you got laqiyun, haqiqi, or haqiqi, you have a actual meaning that you actually encounter and meet with someone. وَهُوَ مَا كَانَ بِلَا حِجَابٍ. This is if there is nothing separating you two. There's no barrier between you two and you meet up with them, then this is the actual meaning. Now, I'm the actual meaning. There's nothing between the two of you. There's no barrier. There's no screen. Nothing is, but this is the actual meaning. And then you have a meaning, laqiyun, hukmiyun. You have a meaning that takes the definition of a meaning, but it is not actual. Now, meaning because you don't actually physically meet with one another. وَهُوَ مَا كَانَ مَعَ الْحِجَابِ. And this is if there is some type of barrier between you. Now, some type of barrier between you. Now, كالواقع في اتصالات الهاتفية. Like what is now with telecommunications. Telecommunications, you don't meet physically, but you encounter each other on the phone, or you encounter each other via a video, be it FaceTime, whatever the case is. So you video call each other, or you call each other on the phone. So you're separated by distance, but you're still meeting each other. So that meaning that isn't an actual meaning, it still takes the ruling of an actual meeting, because you have encountered them. Now you open the phone and there they are. Now you picked up the phone, there they are. So the person who was calling, they will initiate the salams. The person who was calling, then they will initiate the salams. Now, and the like, Sheikh Al-Bani and others, they advised that for the person who was calling, then they are the one who give the salam, as far as the person answering the phone. And in many intensive cases, you don't know who's on the other end of the phone, right? Especially if there's a pop-up in the call ID, or you don't recognize the number, because no one memorizes numbers anymore. You're not the one that give the salam, but the one who calls you is the one that will initiate the salam. So you will have to give the salam if you meet up with the Muslim. Now, it is important to know, وَكَوْنُ مَنْ لَقِيتَ مُسْلِمًا, you have to meet up with a Muslim, لا كافر, not a kafir. نعم. فكافر من أهل الكتاب وغيرهم لا يلقى عليهم السلام. The non-believer, when you meet them, you do not greet them with the salam. You do not initiate the greeting with the salam. And that is due to the prohibition that the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited us from giving salam to the non-Muslim. Now, so for the non-Muslim, we don't initiate or greet them by saying Assalamu alaikum. Now, however, the ulama, they mention, if a kafir says, Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions that if a kafir says to you Assalamu alaikum, and it's clear what he said Assalamu alaikum, and it's clear what he said that in that instance you could return the salams to him. You could return the salams to him in that instance. Now, that is clear. He said it clear what he said. He said, but in the instance that it wasn't clear what he said, then you have the option of telling him wa alaikum, and you too. Now, then you have the option of telling him wa alaikum, and you too. Likewise, if they say the salams to you, you have the option of saying wa alaikum, and you as well. Now, you have to be wise, and you have to have understanding. This is in the case where it wouldn't cause any problems. Now, in the case where it wouldn't cause any problems, because you may have some you may have some non-Muslim family members. You may have some non-Muslim family members who they intend for you well. They don't intend for you any harm, any type of malice. So, in trying to be nice and trying to be sensitive to the ways of the Muslims, when they greet you, they may say Assalamu alaikum. Naam. So for this individual, be it your uncle, your aunt, whatever the case is, would it be wise for you to say unto them, wa alaikum? Yeah, you too. Right? Would that be wise? One, it may hurt their feelings. Two, as I've witnessed before, they may say to you, why didn't you return the salams to me? Why didn't you say wa alaikum salam? Because they hear wa alaikum. They don't know that wa alaikum is a thing. So they're listening and waiting to hear wa alaikum salam. So when they don't hear that from you, they may become offended. It may hurt their feelings. And they may, and which is illustrated by the question, why didn't you say wa alaikum salam? You understand? So you don't want to put a bad taste in their mouth. You don't want to offend them, especially when they were trying to be nice, when they were trying to show sensitivity and understanding of the ways of the Muslims by saying Assalamu alaikum. So if it's someone in your family from the kuffar and they tell you Assalamu alaikum, then it would be wise to take the advice of Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala and return the salams to them. Now if you're in a situation in the streets, and someone says Assalamu alaikum, what appears if they said Assalamu alaikum to you, but you're not 100% sure what they said, then in that instance you say wa alaikum. Now in case it's a Jew and they're saying death be upon you or something and it sounds similar, but you didn't hear it good, then you just say wa alaikum. Yeah, so and to you too, and the like. Now, so that was the first of the issues. The second of the issues is that is in the statement of the author when he said that when you meet up with a Muslim, then you say unto them, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That you give them the whole salams. He said that he made this one, or he mentioned this, this particular wording of the salam because it is the most complete. Because it is the most complete wording of the salam. He said, but it is to be understood that there are three different versions that an individual could utilize. Now, there are three different versions that an individual could utilize. This one here is the most complete, where you say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, this is the most complete. And this is the one that you get the most reward for. Now, and again, we have to teach our children, spread the salam. Why? There's a lot of reward in it. Now we may understand better why Ibn Umar, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, he would go to the suq and he would give salam to everyone, all the Muslims he passed by. He would say unto them, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Naam, and the like. Because there comes a hadith an Imran, and in this hadith we get the three different versions, three different wordings that an individual could utilize for saying the salam. There comes a hadith عن عمران من حسين قال جاء رجل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال السلام عليكم. Imran bin Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he mentioned that a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said to him, Assalamu alaikum. Naam. فرد عليه السلام. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he responded to him by saying, Wa alaikum assalam. ثم جلس فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عشر. And then the man sat down, and then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said 10. ثم جاء آخر فقال السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. And then there came another man came, and he said السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. فرد عليه فجلس فقال 20. So the Prophet ﷺ, he returned the salams to him by saying, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. And then the man sat down, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said 20. He said 20. The first one said, Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet ﷺ, he said 10. The next one said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said 20. ثم جاء آخر فقال السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And then another man came and he said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. فرد عليه فجلس فقال 30. So then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he returned the salams unto him, and then the man sat down, and then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said 30. Now this hadith rawahu Abu Dawood wa sahahahu al-Albani. This hadith was collected by Abu Dawood and it was graded authentic by Al-Albani. There come other narrations of this hadith where the Sahaba, they asked the Prophet ﷺ about this 10, yani this ashr, wa ashrun, wa thalathun. Then what is ashr? What is ashrun? What is thalathun? What is 10, 20, 30? What is, yani, what is that in reference to? To which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that when the person says assalamu alaikum, then they get 10 rewards. They get 10 rewards. Naam. And when they say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then they get 20 rewards, 20 good deeds. Naam. And when they say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, then they get 30 good deeds. They get 30 good deeds. Naam. So these are the different ways that an individual can give salam, and each one comes with the deed, yani, attached to it. For the first one, assalamu alaikum, 10 good deeds. Naam. For the second version, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, 20 good deeds. For the third and most complete version, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, 30 good deeds. And this is, yani, the most complete. Naam. So this is why the author, when they mention the articulation of the salams, they mention the most complete, that which will bring the most good deeds, that which will bring its sayah, 30 good deeds. 30 good deeds. Naam. And this is the most that could be said when initiation of the salams. Naam. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the most a person can say. They are not to add to it. And this is the strongest of the statements, is that when initiation of the salams, you do not add to it more than wa barakatuh. That is the most complete, and that is it. Naam. And that is the most strongest statement from the statements of the people of knowledge. Naam. And that which is that which was well known amongst the Sahaba. This is that which was well known amongst the Sahaba, is to say at the most, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Naam. When initiating the salams, this was what was most known. But so the mu'allaf, again, the author, they mentioned the most complete of them, because it is that which will give you the most reward. And as far as giving the salams, when we meet, the initiation of the salams, when you meet another Muslim, then of course the ulama, they mentioned, and it says, yani, recommended. This is highly recommended, yani, to give the salams first. It is highly recommended to give the salams first, because the one who give the salam first, and they are better. The one who give the salam first, they are better. Naam. As could be seen in those who argue with each other, and then they separate for their 3 days, not giving salam to each other. Then after the 3 days, the one who initiates a salam, then that's the one who is better. Naam. So you want to rush the initiation of the good deed. So it is good to give it first. Naam. It is good to give it first. But that brings us to the next. Okay, so the first affair that was linked to it was when you meet up with somebody. What is meant and intended by meet up with somebody. Okay, the second affair is what are the ways of giving salams? What are the ways of initiating the salam? Naam. And the third affair is linked to the issue of returning the salam. Is linked to the issue of returning the salam. Naam. As is seen in the statement of the author, where he said, وَإِن سَلَّمَ عَلَيْكَ فَقُلْ وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ. And if someone gives you salam, وَإِذَا سَلَّمَ عَلَيْكَ, if someone gives you salam, they say as-salam to you, then you respond to them. And then he mentions the most perfect, yani the most complete of the articulations of salam, due to its virtue and due to it being having more reward than the other two. However, an individual, it is permissible for you to use either one of them. Meaning, and this is in accordance to the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحِيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. Allah ta'ala, he says, if you are greeted with the greeting, then say better than it or return it. Now, so if a person says unto you, Assalamu alaikum, you have three options. Based on this ayah, you have three options. They said to you, Assalamu alaikum. So you can respond by saying one, Wa alaikumus salam. Two, Wa alaikumus salam wa rahmatullah. Three, Wa alaikumus salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, those are your three different options in that scenario. Now, if they came to you and they said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. But now you have what? Two options. Because you have to do better or you return it the same way. So if they said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then you will respond by saying, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. That's one way. Or you'll respond by saying, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, you would do them one better. Or the third way is if they came to you and they said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Like, how many options you have here? Now, the strongest opinion amongst the ulama, you have two options. You have two options. You return it and you better it. You give them one up better. Now, so you can say, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That is what? Returning it. That is returning the salams. And you have those from Ahl Ilm who say you can do one better and you can say, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa maghfiratuh. Naam, that you can add wa maghfiratuh. And the like. Okay? But at the very minimum, you have to return it with exactly what they said unto you. Okay? And that's as relates to how you return the salams. Now, as relates to the affair, connected to this affair, who is it binding on them that they return the salam? Who is it binding on that they return the salam? And what is the ruling of returning of the salam? The ulama, they mentioned that the returning the salam, saying wa alaikum salam, returning the greeting, is wajib, is obligatory. If you're by yourself, and you're the only person being addressed, then it becomes fard ayn. It's an individual responsibility. You have to respond. You, as an individual, have to respond. Okay? But if they say it to a group, you are amongst a group of individuals, and the group is addressed with the salam, then at that point, it becomes fard kifaya. It becomes a communicable, or, not communicable, that's the word, right? It becomes a responsibility upon the group. So if one person from the group says, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, one person from the group returns the salams, then this absolves everyone else for having to also return salam. Naam, because one person, he did it for the whole of the group. The Shaykh, he brings a very good point here, right? Which has to be mentioned, and that is that if a person hears the salam, he is only to return it, or only the one who it was directed to has to return it. Now, so in other words, you can hear someone give salam and you don't have to return it because they weren't speaking to you. They weren't talking to you. They weren't addressing you, not directly nor indirectly. And the Shaykh, he brings an example of how this can be. He said, for example, if you're in the masjid and a person enters into the masjid and you happen to be sitting in a similar direction of the person that they're talking to, and they come in and they address a person being to your right or to your left, and they say unto them, Assalamu alaikum. Now you heard the salam, but it was clear, it was evident. They weren't talking to you. They weren't talking to you at all. Now, so in that case, you are not obliged to return the salam, but rather the one who the salam was directed to, they are the one who is who's obligated to return the salam. Now, this is not to say you cannot return the salam. You could return the salam, but it is not binding upon you in that situation to return the salam because they weren't speaking to you. They were talking clearly to someone else. Now, if that makes sense. And then the mu'allif, he goes on, the musannif, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he goes on to get into the next affair, which is related to enter upon someone. To enter upon someone to enter into their house and to visit them and so on and so forth, and you knock upon the door, and the etiquette and the rules and the regulations and the good manners as relates to that. But inshallah ta'ala, we will save that until our next class, our next meeting, بإذن تعالى. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إلى اللقاء. Until next time we meet. جزاكم الله خيرا. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.